everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thank you guys for joining me. Happy Friday. We're here on November 21st, 2025, live on the channel doing live tarot readings. This is the first time that you guys are joining me. Thanks for joining me. I'm happy to have you here. Obviously, click that thumbs up button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all my other videos that are coming out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. I like to use tarot and astrology to try to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. And as a reminder, we are live on Fridays. So if you are seeing this on Saturday or on Sunday, I'm no longer live. I missed you, but hopefully I can catch you on another live in the future. And I know that we have got a number of people who have already sent some of their questions in. Give me a second, guys, because my computer's glitching, my tablet's glitching out a little bit. So there we go. All right, I had a delay on my end. What's up, Deanna? I see you. Deanna is the business. Did I get yours? No, I did not get yours. You might have to send it again. Sometimes if you send it too early, PayPal or I guess YouTube doesn't save it. So send me your question again. And if you're a level 4 member on my channel, you get one reading once a month during your monthly readings. So you can choose tarot or astrology. If you are a level 4 person, I recommend getting your reading because I don't think we're going to be doing readings next week because of the holiday. So definitely cash in if you want to get your reading for the month of November. So you scan the QR code, that's going to take you to my PayPal. You can ask any one question and we're going to either do one card spread for $20 or a 3-card spread for $40. If you guys want to ask multiple questions, you can send money for multiple cards if that's what you want. Make sure in the memo box you put any information that you want to ask me in regards to your question or anything that you think that I need to know. And we'll be answering the questions in the order that we get them. So I appreciate your guys' patience. We'll take the members first and then we'll move on to the queue. And then we'll let you guys know when we're going to be calling last call. So when you hear that, that means that we're kind of wrapping things up for the evening. But just a little bit of information before we get into things. So I haven't really talked about this yet, but there's a bunch of stuff that we're putting on sale for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So all of our sales are basically going to be starting now and it's going to go through December 1st. My deck's almost sold out, which is crazy. I'm really stoked about that. We've got about 8 or 9 tarot decks left. They are probably not going to last beyond the next week because we're selling anywhere between 2, 3, 4 a day. So in the next couple days, they will be sold out. But if you want to get a copy of my Sword in the Road Tarot, definitely check out my Etsy store. We'll put it in the chat. We'll also put it in the description below. If you guys didn't see the unboxing video, I did an unboxing video where I went through the whole deck. You can also see all kinds of pictures and videos and stuff of it on my Etsy storefront. And we're only selling 100 decks. So once these are gone, they're gone. But we're doing all kinds of other sales too. So first of all of my courses are going to be on sale. So whether you want to take an astrology course or a tarot course, definitely check them out. This is like the time where we have the biggest, I guess, discounts all year long. And after 2 years, I have not taught a live class, but I'm coming back and teaching my Advanced Astrology 301 starting in January. So I'm offering an early bird special where you guys can get 8 basically separate courses that I'm going to be teaching live between January and March. And you can save $200 and I'm charging $399 for that course where I talk all different kinds of advanced techniques and help you guys get all of the necessary skills to feel confident working as a professional astrologer. So that's fun. We're gonna have a small group of people. And yeah, you wanna snag that early bird because after December 1st, the price is gonna go up. We're also doing an astrology bundle. So you can get Astro 101. And if you do get Astro 101, you'll get Astro 201 half off. And Astro 101 is beginner's astrology. It's gonna teach you how to read a natal chart. And then 201, I teach all my transit techniques. We're also doing a bundle with the tarot and the astrology. So you can buy either the tarot, you can buy the astrology 101 or 201 and you get half off of the tarot. And if you want to buy Astro 101 and 201, you're gonna get my tarot course for free. I'm doing also specials on my transit calendar. So if you guys have seen that 12-month transit calendar that imports directly into your Google or your Apple calendar, I'm giving you guys 6 months of transits for free. So usually you pay $25 and you're gonna get 12 months. I'm gonna give you 18 months. So that's a good deal. And we are also going to do 50% off my Saturn and Aries webinar. If you are gearing up for maybe your Saturn return, you have personal planets in Aries, or you want to know how to navigate the next couple of years with Saturn and Aries, definitely check that out. And I'm also doing $5 off my calendars for my 2026 astrology calendars that has rituals and all kinds of herbal and ritual recommendations on the calendar. And this year it's cool because you can scan it and you're gonna get a tarot card reading specific to your rising sun or moon sign every month. So we have a lot of stuff that is in store. Obviously, check out the sale. We're probably gonna drop some other stuff that I have yet to release. I'm trying to get my 2026 predictions out. I'm gonna do predictions for the 12 rising signs. So hopefully we're gonna have that out around the 1st as well. And many more things to come. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you guys are able to get some savings if you wanna pick something up for the holidays. Thank you for letting me do my shameless plug. So let's get into who we have already in the queue this evening. I know Deanna's here. What's up, Deanna? David's here. And what's up, Emmy? Would Super Chat be better if my question is a bit longer than the PayPal memo limit? Sure, yeah, you can do Super Chat if you want to do that. We take both. So we've got a couple people already who are in the chat. So I've got Emma, Vanessa, Nay, we've got Lo, and Cassidy. So if you hear your name, that means that I've got you, and scan the QR code if you want to get in the queue. Do we have any level 4 members other than Deanna? I'm gonna put you in here. So let's see and take a look at what Deanna's question is. She says, any insight on how to move through this stagnation and slightly unsettling feelings? Also, love life is okay. I still feel like I want to get out of here and start fresh. All right, well, let's take a look and see what we can tell you about that, my dear. I feel like I've heard that from a lot of Leo risings. They're like, I need to get out of the house. Where am I going? So let's see what the cards can tell you about how to deal with this stagnant energy. How can we move stuff around? And what do you need to know in regards to starting fresh? Well, I'm not surprised that you got the Death card, the Emperor, and the Page of Swords. Obviously, 2 major arcana cards definitely implies that there is a lot of change on the horizon. So the nice thing is that this gives you like a timeline to be really focusing on. It looks like November through April is when you're going to see the biggest amount of change. Something to consider is that this deals with the energy of Scorpio, and it also deals with the energy of Aries. So very like Mars, Pluto-y related things. So you might want to be watching what's going on in the area of Aries in your chart. As you know, it's your 9th house. That's going to deal with foreign travel and what you're learning and exploring. And then we've got Scorpio, which is dealing with the area of your home and your living situation. So I know a little bit more about you maybe than some of the other people I'm doing readings for, but it makes sense that you're like, okay, on the home front or emotionally, or when it comes to my kind of like foundation of my life, there are some things that just need to go. And that could be emotionally, that could be physically. This could also be about accepting and acknowledging that certain cycles have come to an end. And you'll see a lot throughout like the astrology of the next week with the conjunction that's happening between Mercury and Venus in Scorpio. There's a lot of what do I hold on to and what do I let go of? Now that could be physical things. So you're decluttering, or you're kind of getting rid of stuff, or maybe you're downsizing some things. So you're making it easier to maybe have some free space to just think or move more lightly. I think it could also mean that this is also about you having to face certain things that feel uncomfortable. Like so much of the Scorpio energy is penetrating, and it's kind of picking and poking at things that we don't necessarily want to discuss, or things that we don't want to make changes on. And with that South Node connection, for a lot of like Leo risings, I think it's also about where there's some shifts going on in finances. It's affecting your self-esteem, or it's affecting maybe your security, or there is this feeling of going, okay, I need to hold on to everything. I don't want to resist change. And I would say, don't do that. The Death card is really encouraging you to say it's time to be able to kind of put one phase to an end and move forward, and bravely and also courageously, and I think in a very mature handling business type of way, come up with a plan between November and about Aries season. So it's going to be March, April of next year, to feel like you can be on top, that you can handle stuff. A lot of this, I think, is also about professional transformation. And maybe you're feeling like that's happening. Knowing the Leo rising chart with like this Mercury retrograde and the new moon that's been in, you know, Scorpio, it's all been in opposition to Uranus in the 10th house. So it's been what has to change? Where am I getting out of my old outdated emotional and home ways to make space for new careers, new statuses, new titles, and that something has to actually come to an end home-wise in order to really shift into where you're going on a more kind of professional level. So watch Pluto transits, watch Mars transits. That's what I would be watching with these two cards, and have a game plan. So by the time you're getting to March and April, you have already freed up a lot of these emotional or kind of home related things. So you have like a launch pad to feel like you can move around more freely, and also you're going to feel more in control. I do feel like I said, it's the death and the ending of a professional phase though. And I think that's definitely the key, especially when I think about what's going on for like Capricorns, because obviously Saturn is changing signs. So you're going to see there is this shift from your focus being more on traditionally, you know, work-related things to, no, I'm trying to kind of structure and figure out where I'm going to be actually living. So from your Capricorn sun perspective, it's a lot of the same thing. She says, I got to get this professional thing. It's got to change. I'm waiting to hear back from a college in Ireland. The likelihood is that right now, at least for the next couple of months, a lot of the change is your frame of mind, right? Because the Page of Swords comes up as the final card. So this can mean what you're learning, how you're communicating, where you're traveling to, how you're putting yourself out there, feeling like you're willing to take risks, and maybe you're reaching out to people and places and even potential jobs that are maybe a little bit out of your wheelhouse, or maybe it's things that you haven't done before. It could also mean that there can be opportunities for not just teaching, but also training, certifications, and things that can come up as well. And I love that the page is facing the death card. You've got like the Emperor in the center, who's like full steam ahead, focusing on the future, but the page is facing the death card. So it's basically saying it's time to come to some kind of recognition or realization that, okay, if I put some of these things to rest, if I end it, it's going to allow me to actually move forward. And it's going to kind of propel you in a direction where you're learning something new, you're exchanging with new people. And it's also going to be about, I think, facing stuff that you've been afraid to make changes on. She says, yeah, I've been really, I've really had to work on my mindset because I've been having a pity party. Well, pages are great because I feel like, especially the Page of Swords or like the Page of Wands, they're going to be a little bit more willing to take risks than some of the other pages. This is also discussing, having conversations, you know, really thinking about kind of game plans for the different directions that your career can go. And obviously the Aries or Emperor card can mean, you know, starting something that is going to be your own. So going and looking for a job is great, especially if it's going to be in education. But I think this can mean that you're starting to think about, well, can I do work remotely? You know, can I be teaching, or can I be training? Or is there a way for me to still be going back and forth and doing something new and working in a remote manner? It can also involve writing. So that's another thing that I would think about with like the Page of Swords coming up. But right now, I think it's going to be between now and the new year, figuring out what's not working so you can clear space and create that space to start thinking about new ventures. I also feel like this is about affirmations. So, you know, the Page of Swords is about writing things. It's about mantras. It's going to be about getting your head in the right space. And the Emperor is very much, I am, right? It's that Aries energy. I am capable. I am achieving. I am mastering. I am handling, or, you know, or getting down to details. That's what I would be focusing on, because this is very much mind over matter. And rather than wigging out about what has happened in the past or what didn't work or what, you know, has always kind of been the same old, you're basically looking at it going, okay, that's not sustainable any longer. So I have to kind of buck up right now and recognize and realize that I'm the person who's going to make this happen. And there can be support that can come from Aries or Scorpios. There can also be support that can be coming from men in your life, or mentors, teachers, like father figures, or other strong men who are giving you guidance or kind of influencing you when it deals with making major career moves. And they may be counseling you in some capacity, and they may be giving you feedback, or they might be making recommendations. And this could also be people who are going to be like referring you or giving you like some kind of, not feedback, but they would be recommending you, right? So you can be asking for like letters of recommendation or people who you've worked with. So that way it's making it easier for you to get people to kind of vouch for you so you can move forward and make some of these professional changes. She says, the last couple of days has been full of affirmations. The man is a Scorpio moon. The chart is an Aries sun. That's very funny. Gemini rising. That's great. I do think that, I would keep my eyes out for messages that can come in rapidly, or like sudden opportunities to interview, or that there could be positions that are going to be possibly filling faster than you would anticipate moving. That's definitely something I would think about, especially knowing that you're a Capricorn sun and you're going to see Saturn and Neptune go into Aries next year. As early as January, February, you can see opportunities to get the show on the road with either, traveling, moving, or doing some kind of work that would allow you to either travel or relocate that could come much faster than you initially anticipated. So you can be working in a way where you're either trying to get jobs faster, or you're trying to think about, setting up some kind of work that it could allow you to be anywhere. And I would definitely be rapid fire with those emails and going back and forth with people and having conversations, and also doing interviews, even though it's going to come faster than maybe you're comfortable with, especially with the living situation. This is about bravery and also really seeing the windows of opportunities as they open and taking them. Because it may be something that's going to allow you to kind of transition and kind of get to where you need to go. So you could relocate, then start thinking about some of the changes you're going to be making work-wise April, May, June of 2026, right? Hopefully that's helpful. She says, love this. We'll be in Ireland December and January. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm excited to see what happens, because I feel like it's going to come much quicker than you think. And it's so much mind over matter right now. It's crazy. All this Scorpio energy, people can really get in a funk. All right. Let's see. Who is that? Astrofact says, if you have a natal sun moon opposition, does this affect perhaps flip all of the north south node transits in your lifetime? I don't necessarily think so. You have to look at the rulers of the north and the south node, unless they're, obviously have a tie or a connection to the sun or the moon. The nodes deal with the moon more than it deals with the sun, unless you have one of the nodes in Leo, obviously. But I would say it's much more about a lifetime of completion and conclusion and everything coming into that polarity. And it makes everything feel bigger because you were born during a time where it was highlighting that axis. So you have to see what signs they're in, what houses they're in. Does the sun and the moon connect or correlate to the nodes? Maybe it's going to play a little bit more of a role than that, but you'd have to look at the aspects that they're making outside of just the opposition to each other. Some astrologers I've heard say that when your sun and your moon are in opposition in your natal chart, or you're born around the time of a full moon, it represents that parents can be at odds, or there is like a lot of polarity going on within, mother and father, or kind of like maternal, paternal energies. And the moon is your subconscious, the sun is your ego. So there is this highlight of what you're doing, or where the action is, the sun or the ego, versus the moon, which is your emotional kind of tendencies. And that it's going to always show kind of like oppositions. Yeah, you want to, I'd have to look at the whole chart. So I would say come back when we're doing a astrology night. It's probably going to be in 2 weeks because we're not going to be here next week. But when we do an astrology night, come and pull your chart up and we'll look at your chart. Because that means that if your sun is in Aries, it's exalted, and your moon's in Libra, you're going to have to not just look at the oppositions, you have to look at the aspects, and also if any of those are connected to your nodal rulers. But Aries sun is going to be pretty strong with that Libra moon. You're welcome. All right, so we're moving through the list. We have now got Emma, and then Vanessa and Nay. You guys will all be next. All right, Emma says, will my ex reach out to me again this holiday season when he's back home, or if he doesn't, should I? What's our future? All right, so let's look at the relationship in general. Is it looking like somebody's going to reach out? And if not, should she do it? And can you give us a card on the future? She's a Virgo rising, 29 degrees. He's a Libra rising, 29 degrees. What can you tell Emma about this reconciliation? Is it likely that she's going to hear from him over the holiday? Should she reach out? Is there a future here? All right, in this order, I have got the Queen of Wands, the Five of Swords, and the Two of Wands. Just thinking about the astrology side of it, I mean, it's not astrology night, but I'll say Libra risings are going to see that, you know, obviously he's a late Libra rising, so he's almost like a Scorpio rising. Late Libra risings are going to see that Saturn going into Aries will take a little bit longer to affect them. Okay, so we're looking at 2 to 3 years time. But his transits are going to be more like a Scorpio rising. So this Mercury retrograde that's going on is the back and forth that he's thinking about whether or not he wants to connect with another person. It's in opposition to Uranus in his 7th. That can mean that you're picking up on whether or not he's going to reach out and talk to you, and he's going through a time where there's a lot of change going on in his life, and he's contemplating whether or not he wants to loop another person into that in the midst of some of these changes. For you, you still have eclipses going on in your 7th house. You still have a Mercury retrograde in the spring. So there's certainly timelines that I could see either one of you guys connecting in the future. But right now with the Queen of Wands coming up and the 5 of Swords, it's basically saying you're better off waiting for him to reach out to you. Certainly the 2 of Wands does seem to imply that there is a possibility that there can be a connection in the future, and it's kind of optimistic, and it's very likely that there is a path that you guys can connect and that maybe find a way forward. But Queen of Wands is somebody who obviously is action-oriented. She can be impulsive, but this is telling me that right now the power is in you waiting and holding back and waiting until there is a connection from him. Because with the 5 of Swords coming up in the current position in the right now, it's saying that if you try to act impulsively to reach out or connect to him, there can be a little bit of static. There could be some difficult communication. There can be this feeling that you're reaching out, he's not ready, or he could feel like there is some sense of pressure, you know, to see you because he's going to be there. It could also mean that there could be some conflict between the 2 of you because one person is wanting to kind of hash things out and talk about what's gone on in the past and whether or not you guys can find a way forward. And the other person can be a little bit more standoffish and not want to actually have to have those conversations yet. Especially knowing that the retrograde is in his 1st house, I think that you would be better off leaving him be. You know, Venus is going to come into conjunction with Mercury pretty soon. So that can mean that even though Venus doesn't rule his 7th house, that's his chart ruler if he's a Libra rising, he's having to work through some things subconsciously to decide whether or not he's really ready to connect with somebody at a distance. And I think the 2 of Wands is saying that if you can wait, if you can give this some time for, you know, him to come through, for him to be there. I do think he will be traveling because the 2 of Wands does talk about, you know, people being in transit or somebody potentially, you know, returning or kind of having to go from point A to point B. You have much more likelihood of having a better conversation with him when he reaches out to you. It does mean that, you know, there's no cups coming up. So if there was 6 of cups, Ace of cups, you know, 10 of cups, I'd be like, yeah, there is a future where you guys are going to, you know, get back together. But that's not defined in this reading. It's more saying, hold on, be patient, be confident, reserve your energy, be mindful that there is so much focus, I think, with the Queen of Wands coming up first, where you maybe want to feel like you have the upper hand or you have some, you know, kind of security in the situation. You want to know that if you reach out to him, he's going to respond. He may not respond immediately. He may not even feel like it's a good idea to be talking about these things because it does seem to me like there is some conflict with the 5 of Swords where there's been situations in the past where you guys have tried to rehash things or you've tried to kind of work through the issues and it wasn't the right time. And so there was a bit of conflict between the 2 of you guys because one person wanted to move forward and the other person wasn't ready to forgive the past or they weren't ready to deal with the insecurities, and then it created more division. So I would wait, be confident, wait for him to reconnect with you. I would also recognize that if you were to try to talk to him right now, it almost looks like it would be too much too soon, and it can lead to you guys not seeing eye to eye and creating, you know, almost more of a delay and potentially being able to connect in the future. And the 2 of Wands is saying that he is going to be there. He is going to be traveling. Likely he's already thinking about whether or not he's going to connect with you. And I think that if you can focus more on getting ready for that, inevitably when the time comes for you guys to connect, which could be later than just the holidays. You know, I think that this is maybe about him coming and knowing that he's going to be in the same place as you and he's wrestling and going back and forth. That's like, do I say something? Do I not say something? You know, is there going to be more issues? Is it going to be opening up a can of worms by reconnecting with this person, especially if he doesn't necessarily know where he's going? And I look at the 2 of Wands as him being a little bit like nomadic in a way. Maybe he has been relocated for some time. He's been living in another place, and he's conflicted as to whether or not he wants to open things up again with you and communicate with you, because he wants to leave a path open to potentially really be able to move forward with that life and where he's living, not necessarily with people, but be able to see clearly with the life that he's setting up. But he also sees the other path, because twos are like, do I want this or do I want that? So he's curious, if he were to connect with you, okay, she knows I'm living in another place, I'm doing all of these things. Would she be open and receptive to talking to me now that things have kind of settled out a little bit? So that's positive in a sense that he is thinking about connecting with you, but I would definitely wait until he reaches out to you, because I think it's too soon. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Definitely difficult when you've got the 29-degree Libra rising who can't make a decision, and a 29 Virgo rising who's all about facts and figures and timing and planning. Give it a little bit longer to see the effects of that to manifest. All right, I've got Vanessa, and then I've got Nay. And if you guys are just checking in and you want to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there. We'll get you in the queue. You're welcome. Trust me, you want to wait till he calls you with those cards, because he's probably surprised he has not heard from you by now. Usually Queen of Wands is a little impatient. All right, Vanessa says, what's up? I have 3 questions. Will I meet someone and hit it off romantically? And if so, anywhere I should particularly go? The library, the gas station, Target? LOL, just kidding. My neighbors are still being obnoxious, loud, and management hasn't done squat to address it. Well, definitely, if you live in LA, if you wanna get an ego boost, just go pump gas, because pretty much anybody will tell you how beautiful you are, and if you've got a man. So I'm gonna pull 2 cards that are gonna be on: is she gonna meet somebody and hit it off, and if so, how does she go about meeting someone? And then the 3rd card's going to be more in regards to what's going on with these lousy neighbors of yours. All right, so 2 cards on meeting somebody and the relationship stuff. Where do you meet them? So interesting. So you have got the 9 of Wands coming up with the 3 of Pentacles. So I think about, the 9 of Wands is like, it's rough out there. Like trying to meet people, or the ways that you've met people in the past, feels like it always leaves you, left holding the bag emotionally. It can also mean that you have felt a little like beat up in previous, relationship or romantic encounters, or that you're like, I just can't get hurt again, or I'm like, I've been in the process of healing, or like preparing to put myself back out there, and you're completing that cycle right now. So that can mean that, you're still in your healing phase. Doesn't mean you can't meet someone, but it is saying that there is some concern with putting yourself back out there only to go through some of the same issues and cycles again. So it's just reminding you that if you're not feeling confident, if you're not feeling ready, or if there is a sense of you going, I can't take anymore, I'm not, ready, don't push yourself. But what's interesting is that the 3 of Pentacles coming up does seem to kind of imply over the next 3 months or so, you're going to see some opportunities to connect with people. And if I remember correctly, are you a Cancer rising? I don't remember exactly. I know you've got some Virgo in your chart, but I thought you were a Cancer rising. Cancer or Leo. If you are a Cancer rising, you're going to see a ton of planets that's going to go through Capricorn here pretty soon. I haven't even started talking about it yet, but the end of December going into January, there is going to be, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, all going through Capricorn. And Mars, Venus, and the Sun are going to conjunct. There's going to be a triple conjunction. And when that happens, it's going to go through your 7th house, and it's going to start opposing Jupiter in your 1st house, which means it's going to bring people in. Now, right now, Jupiter in your 1st house is trining Saturn. And this means that if you're traveling, if you're learning, if you are even going to a different side of town, if you're doing any continuing education, this is going to broaden the horizons for you to potentially meet someone. But you're going to find right at the end of December, going into January, right around month 3, that's when you're going to start to see opportunities to connect with people. She says, yes, Cancer moon, Cancer rising. This can also mean that there's something that's popping up for you that is connecting to meeting someone in a place that's connecting to work, which is interesting. Jupiter in your 1st house means you might be contemplating job changes, or you're changing departments, or you're changing your schedule. It can also mean that you're going and meeting people at a place where work is done, working out, right? Working on yourself. So I think of the gym, I think of anything that's connecting to health food stores, anything that's connecting to doctor's offices, anything that's going to be connected to working with other people to benefit you. You want to also look at where your natal Saturn is. And if I remember correctly, I think your Saturn is in Libra in the 4th house. So you have exalted Saturn. It is, I believe, conjunct, it's either Jupiter or Pluto. I think it's Pluto. So in theory, you have partners come back from the past, but it could also mean you meet family, you meet partners through family, or you meet partners through your home. So if you have Saturn natally in your 4th house, it means that they have to come to you, or you're going to meet them near home, or there is going to be some kind of connection to your home. So I'm wondering, okay, she needs some time. She's working on putting herself out there. She's maybe a little gun shy and she doesn't want to get hurt again, but she's probably wanting to meet somebody who, like her, is in the process of working on themselves. So anything that's going to be about bettering yourself, mind, body, spirit, that's the 3, or any changes that are going to be connected to work might potentially bring somebody in. And as you start seeing, some of the energies that are going to be coming in end of December into January, potentially you're going to see opportunities for relationships that are really going to start to kind of spark, but they still have to come to you. So they'll say, well, I'll come pick you up, or, let me come meet your family, or, let me come see, what your place is like. That is what you want to watch for. They actually have to make the moves to come to you. Okay. So give it about 3 months, but focus on how you're bettering yourself, because likely you're going to meet somebody who's in the same dynamic. So at least you're going to meet somebody who may potentially be a good match for where you're at right now. And then in regards to these neighbors that have been super obnoxious and loud, and it sounds like management has not done anything still, what do we need to know about dealing with these neighbors? That's all the Mercury stuff too, by the way. You get the Page of Coins. Okay, so I kind of feel like this is you saying, I'm going to make little changes in the ways that I'm interacting with them, or I'm going to be making small changes in what I can do rather than reacting to them. This can also mean that there's going to be a physical exchange or interaction, that you're going to have somebody where you're giving like a tip, right? So not like money tip, but like a tip to management, or you're going to make a tip to somebody who's going to be involved with taking care of the apartments or taking care of like that location. They might ask you, well, have they been doing this? Or, have you noticed that? Like somebody will ask you a question and there's going to be a physical exchange. This is also about you going out of your way, which I know you do with all that Virgo in your chart, to keep things clean, manage things, take care of things. And like, honestly, the Page of Coins is somebody who's very grounded. So I don't see it being a situation where you're going to blow up on anybody. I feel like it's about you going, what little things can I do, to improve the situation? What little things can I do to also make me feel more grounded and feel like I have more peace in my home space? And when the opportunity comes where there's going to be a physical interaction with somebody and they ask you to confirm anything that other people have said, because I do think other people are going to be complaining or making comments, you're going to be like, yes, here it is. This is what they've been doing. This also means that if you don't see anything over the next couple of months, I would at least give it till the Mercury retrograde's over. So the Mercury retrograde, is going to be kind of in action pretty much until about mid-December. Down the road, knowing what I know about your chart, there is a likelihood that somebody is going to either be moving out of the complex, or there is going to be a likelihood that you would be contemplating or considering moving. So that's not even going to come up until next fall. But you may start seeing that as a theme September, October, November, December of 2026. So, I think right now Page of Coins is more concerned with, well, I like where I'm living. It's affordable. I don't want to have to move. I don't want to have to make any physical changes. So what can you do to create more of a comfortable living environment, or things that are going to be drowning out the noise, or things that are going to help you kind of feel rested or feel peaceful or grounded through using plants, using herbs. Maybe it's going to be using crystals. And you can also do other things physically to try to kind of energetically deflect that stuff. So like I've always told people who have noisy neighbors or people who have issues with neighbors, take a mirror, put it facing the front door, so you can slide it between a couch and like a front door or a wall, to find a way to deflect that energy back out so it's not energetically kind of bumping into you in your home. It's like Feng Shui 101. But this might be a physical thing that you do to kind of shift the energy around. And I still see you being diplomatic with them, but I want you to watch for when somebody asks you a question, because I have a feeling somebody else is going to complain. They're going to be like, well, she's having issues too, or, you know, they're doing this and they're doing that, and other neighbors have seen it, and they're going to be asking people one by one, hey, have you seen this? Do you know that this is actually going on? She says, I do want to move in 2027. I like my apartment. I just can't stand my neighbors. Well, then get ready, because think back to what happened during the fall of 2018. You had a Venus retrograde in your 4th house. So you're going to have another Venus retrograde, and you're also going to have a Mars retrograde. Both of those things seem to imply come the end of 2026, you're making the necessary preparations to then move in 2027. So the Page of Coins can also be saying, yeah, it kind of sucks right now dealing with this, but you know, you're grounded there. You've been there for a while. It might be a good place for you to save money, or, you know, be able to kind of focus on building up so you can get into a place that can be more comfortable, or maybe you're thinking about more of like a long-term kind of home ownership situation, and definitely work with things that can help you ground so you can stay there. And when they approach you, make sure you talk to them. Hopefully that's helpful for you. David says, how does she remember that? I think she's been a client of mine for like, what, 10, maybe 11, 12 years? So quite a while. I have an interesting roster. She says, as far as work, well, this keeps popping up. As far as work, I'm in the medical field with a department. Can I look into internally? About 12 years. What can I look into internally? Well, you're going to find with Jupiter retrograde in your 1st, and also Mercury is going retrograde through your 6th back into your 5th, that there is some changes going on with other employees, or there's changes going on in the workplace, or there's changes. I think last time we talked, you were talking about how you got moved to a different department, if I remember correctly, or there was the potential for that. There was some kind of change that was coming up, and you were like, was I meant to get moved? Was I not? I don't remember the exact details, but whatever's been changing in your 6th house is trining Saturn, right? So it's about you learning about making changes in your work, or potentially considering training or certifications and other things. Your chart is about somebody who does administrative work or who does something in like the health field. But to be honest with you, you know, knowing that you're a Cancer rising, something that you're going to see in the new year, you know, starting pretty much January through April, Saturn and Neptune are going in Aries. So that's going to be going into your career house. It's going to post Saturn, which means you're going to be contemplating, do I take a job further away from home? Is there going to be opportunities to get out of the house and be doing more in a professional setting and potentially something new? So you have to go and look at where Mars is in your chart. I think you've got like Mars in Cancer. So you may be able to do something that's going to be more connecting to working from home, or doing work closer to home, or things that could be involving, you know, property, real estate, and maybe administrative stuff, you know, for that type of business as well. Don't recommend making any moves right now. If you're solid with where you're working, you want to wait until you get into some of those transits in the new year to see what happens. So I would use the whole meeting somebody transit more if you're needing to do training, or if there's certifications you could do. I would also use it more for like working out or focusing on wellness, and that's going to make it easier for you to meet someone, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, guys? I see Rosie's here and Emmy. I'll put you guys on my list. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we have got, next we've got Nay, and then we've got Lo, and then Cassidy. And we've got Emiko and Molly. And then after that, we'll have Rosie and we'll have Emmy. Okay, so I'll call your guys' names when your reading's coming up. What's up, Enchanted? Nice to see you. All right, so let's see what's going on with Nay. All right, Nay says, 3-card spread on what's to come in my love life, or if I'll meet someone in the months to come. All right, well, let's take a look. So what can we tell Nay about potential romantic connections? Is somebody coming in? Are they going to meet somebody over the next couple months? What does that look like? We've got Judgment, 9 of Wands, 9 of Cups. I love that. I love that there's like this turning point energy that's kind of coming up in these cards. The Judgment card talks about getting to a point where you're making some very big decisions, right? So usually when the Judgment card pops up, it's like, okay, now or never, or there is some definitive turning points and decisions that are being made regarding the future of relationships. So I'm wondering what changed for you recently? Like, did you decide that you were finally open for business? Did you decide that you were finally putting the past in the past and that you have healed and dealt with what you needed to deal with so that way you're ready? Because if you make that conscious decision right now, or if you have made that decision, that is going to be influencing what's going to happen in the future. I also feel like with the Judgment card, this means that there can sometimes be the past that kind of comes back that tests you before you move forward. So makes sense. We're in the midst of retrogrades. I mean, you guys are going to see this when we talk about the astro weather this next week. A lot of people are going to hear from their exes, or a lot of people are going to be going through finally wrapping up old storylines to old relationships, or gaining clarity on what didn't work and finally healing issues. I would work with that with the Judgment card coming up, because it can say that there can be tests where there's either dealing with the past, or you're having to kind of really move on from something before you decide that you're really ready for a new relationship to come in. Now, the good news is that the Judgment card after the test, is giving you the 9 of Wands. So it basically means that I think you've done the necessary work that you need to do to put yourself out there. I think to some extent, though, it is kind of indicating that you don't want to be too highly connected to, oh, somebody's going to come in and they're going to save me, or somebody's going to come in and they're going to fix me. Because the 9 of Wands means that you're really hoping to have somebody to come in that's going to give you support, or who's going to work through this time. It can also mean that you're going through a time where you're really wanting companionship, and it can be in an unhealthy way, or something that can be not obsessive, but like codependent, right? And so I don't know, part of it can be seasonal. I mean, sometimes when we see the Judgment card come up, it's basically saying be mindful of the decisions that you make right now. If you are in a place where you're feeling, really lonely, or you're really wanting companionship, don't glob onto somebody for the wrong reasons. Don't just get with somebody because you want to be alone. Don't choose to enter into a partnership because maybe you feel like, okay, I've been wasting time, or I've been spending so much time alone. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to get a chance. No. Especially with the 9 of Pentacles coming up. This is a card that talks about independence. This is about enjoying your time, really focusing on the growth and the indulgence and like all the things you can give yourself while you're not in a relationship. And it almost seems as if there is a shift for you where you're like, okay, I'm ready to do that again. I'm willing to get hurt again. Throw me out there. Like, let's see who's going to show up, but not willing to settle, right? 9 of Pentacles says if a relationship comes in, it's the icing on the cake. I need somebody who can give me something that is above and beyond what I'm already giving myself. And it's about not being easily impressed, to be honest with you. I think of like the Shania Twain song that doesn't impress me much. Whenever I see the 9 of Pentacles, because she's wearing lavish clothes, she's surrounded by abundance, she's got her little falcon friend, she's really enjoying her life. And in a way, in order to pull her out of everything that she's doing in the life that she loves, there has to be somebody really amazing to come along that would make her give up that freedom. So I would approach dating over the next couple of months. I would say the better part of the next 3 months or so, by really telling myself, and I don't know your rising sign, but if you've got Pisces connected to your 5th house or your 7th house, or if you're having retrogrades in those houses, it's, I love my life. Everything's amazing. I'm so happy on my own. This is great. I don't need a relationship. I'm doing the best. I'm doing all the things that I want to do, and I'm really enjoying my freedom. And I say that because it's about being content with where you are right now, because at some point in the future, you may actually look back and go, wow, I had such an amazing time. I could go and do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I had freedom to, come and go, to enjoy my hobbies, to enjoy my free time, and not have to feel like I was dealing with any drama. And then somebody comes in. Okay, so you're having a retrograde that's going through your 5th house, right? So if you're a Leo rising. So that means that you're kind of reevaluating, am I ready to get back into dating? I can tell you that the 5th house is about self-love. I can tell you with Mercury's connection to your 2nd house, it's about investing in yourself, 9 of coins. And I can also tell you, being a Leo rising, that starting in February, you're going to see eclipses that are going to be starting to happen in Aquarius in your 7th house. And that's going to be North Node eclipses. obviously that's setting forth what's going to be basically 2.5 years of destined, fated connections and relationships. Pluto's also there too, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, but I feel like the only way to really radically transform relationships now is to fully kind of deal with the past. And I would be weary or cautious or careful of people who are kind of coming back from the past, or people who remind you of the past. The more that you're dating yourself, treating yourself, spoiling yourself, and focusing on becoming the best version of yourself, especially with your transits right now and the cards, you will find somebody who's going to come and they're going to meet you in that same place. So watch for some of the changes to be coming, especially as you're kind of getting into, mid-December, January, and February. You're going to start seeing changes in the relationship department. But remind yourself that it's more about you, what's going to make you happy, and that's going to create this ripple effect where somebody's going to show up when you least expect it. Hopefully that's helpful. Falcon Friend is the name of my cover band. I love that. Oh. All right, let's see. Who else do we have here? We've got Lo, and then Cassidy and Amiko. All right, so let's see what Lo has to say. Did you send a question, Lo? I don't see the question here. Lolo, send me your question and let me know what you want me to read for you. We'll keep going. Cassidy, and then Amiko, and then we have Rosie, and then Emmy. All right, Cassidy. Cassidy says, Candace, can you please tell me about my love life? I'm a single Virgo sun, Taurus rising, and Capricorn moon. As a Taurus rising, how has the Mercury retrograde been? Watch out for this week. Mercury's going to retrograde through your 7th, and it's going to conjunct Venus. So that can mean somebody from the past is coming back, but that can also mean there is a fated connection, somebody who feels like destined or karmic. Well, let's see what the cards say. So what can we tell Cassidy, being a Taurus rising, Capricorn moon, Virgo sun? Is there anything they need to know about relationships? What's going on with the love life? We have got the King of Wands, the Three of Coins, and the Hangman. So you've got one major arcana card. Something that I would watch for with the King of Wands coming up, because sometimes kings show up around their birthday or their element, fire signs. So keep an eye out for Aries, Leos, and Sagittariuses, right? We're coming into Sag season. We're in Sag season now. So there is going to be an emphasis here on somebody potentially showing up. Can be within a 3-month period. So it can be saying pretty much between now and let's say the end of February, right when Pisces season is starting. But I also feel like you're about to meet somebody who's going through some major either financial or career related changes, or some major changes regarding feeling like they're in a bit of a pivot right now. I know that sounds weird. It's almost like you're waiting for somebody to show up. And that makes sense with some of the retrogrades that are going on, right? So when Mercury goes retrograde in your 7th, you start contemplating or questioning, am I supposed to be meeting somebody? Is somebody coming back in? Am I meeting somebody who is going through some big life changes, or maybe there are some shifts going on, in regards to their path? And I think that's what's happening. It's very likely that there's somebody who's going to come in over the next couple of months who you'll hear say, yeah, I just went through a big life shift, right? I just made some major changes in my work, or I made some major changes with my living situation, or I made some major changes with my health. And they're going to talk about the building phase that they've been in. And I think it's going to be interesting because you're going to go, okay, so you're here now because you worked through some of those kind of moments where there were some setbacks. But ultimately, them making some of the changes that they needed to make made them more ready for a relationship. It can also mean that you can meet them in a common setting. So you can meet them when you're going out with other people. You could meet them potentially through work as well. Remember, Virgo is connected to Mercury. So when Mercury is going through your 7th house, you could reconnect with people you worked with. You could reconnect with, people who you, used to kind of hang out with in a social matter. And it can open up the door to potentially meeting new people. And so I think there will be more than one person that's going to be involved, or there could be like you being introduced to somebody and they'll be like, oh, did you meet so-and-so? Like, I think you're going to meet in real life. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be like online, basically. And then the final card that you get is the Hangman, which is interesting because that does seem to imply that you're like, hey, I'm hanging and I'm waiting. You know, when are they going to show up? But it's also about not making any moves right now. It's just reminding you to be patient. This is like a moment of feeling like you're kind of suspended, and maybe intuitively you have this feeling that you're going to meet someone or that somebody's going to come in, and you're like, should I be looking for someone? Should I be, you know, dealing with the past? And I would say, no, this is not a time to be making any big decisions about relationship commitments right now. This is the time to just hang tight, give this person about 3 months to kind of show up into your life. You're still going to have eclipses at the beginning of, obviously, you know, this next year. That's still going to be kind of impacting the Pisces, Virgo axis, which is about dating and friendships. I also think that, you know, where this person is right now, they are hitting a wall, and it's because they were supposed to make 3 big changes in their life. I think it deals with relationships, finances, and their career, or one of them could be their health. And it looks like now they're on the path to making those changes, but it's almost until they go through that, that's when they're finally going to connect with you. Watch your dreams, and also this might be a good time to be meditating on relationships and asking the universe for any signs or any symbols that might potentially lead you to connecting with someone. Obviously, you're triple earth, so something else I think about is, you know, this is a lot of fiery energy that's very different than what you have in your chart. So you might be somebody who can be patient and can take your time and really pay attention to details, but the person who's coming in is like a little bit more free-spirited. I think they're a little bit harder to kind of like pin down. I think there is a sense of them also really needing to maybe grow up a little bit, or realize that they need to kind of take matters into their own hands if they want to see some big life changes, which I think is smart before you come into their life, because I think you are going to be so grounded and really clear about what you want that you're going to need somebody who is going to be a little bit more mature, a little bit more practical, and probably this is either like an Aries or a Leo or a Sag that's just kind of getting hit all from different angles right now because they are not recognizing what chapters in their life need to come to an end. And so they're in the process of clearing that out. Give them 3 months, focus on any, like I said, dream work or any meditations revolving around relationships and bringing people in. And I think you might get some signs and some symbols that they're getting ready to appear. Good luck. All right, we've got Emiko, and then after that we'll take Molly, Rosie, and Emmy. What's up, Emiko? Emiko says, had a tarot reading from you 2 months ago about finding a new home, and you said it will come by the full moon in Taurus we had just month. Haven't found a spot and being picky, but tired of looking for a year now. Do you have any advice? So your rising is Pisces, all right? And then you've got the moon in Taurus and the sun in Aries. So being that you're a Pisces rising and the Mercury retrograde is going on, which is connected to your 4th house, there is still some stuff that's going back and forth in regards to your living situation. Obviously, Mercury is going back and forth in Scorpio and Sag, so it's a lot of, am I making changes with what's going to be happening at work, or am I making changes with what's happening at home, and where is work influencing ultimately where I'm living? So let's see if we can give Emiko some insight or some advice on where they may end up living. I don't know if you've listened to the horoscopes for December yet, but go listen. Because there is an insane amount of energy for Pisces risings, where this is going to be probably the busiest next couple of weeks ever, like all year, with all the planets going through your 10th house. And work is definitely going to take precedent, or it's going to be dominating anything over the home or the living situation. So if you haven't gotten into something now that you've already had the full moon in Taurus, which was supposed to be about moving, watch when we have the full moon in Gemini, and I'm not just saying that, you know, the full moon will obviously be in your 4th house of home. It will oppose, that's going to be the sun in Sagittarius, and the ruler of that is Mercury, it rules your 4th house, is going to be in Scorpio. So that can mean that you're finding a home that could be further away, or you may have to travel to go and check out this home, or it might be closer to a potential job, or your job might influence ultimately where you end up looking. She said, I got a new boat job 2 months ago and I'm done training. So I stopped looking for a little bit and now I'm looking again. Definitely been working my ass off. Yeah, it's going to get even crazier for the next like month and a half. So let's see what we can tell Emiko about this living situation and if there is any advice. All right, so the card that I get is the Four of Cups, which to me kind of makes sense because we're dealing with the 4th house. We're also talking about what's going on with your home. Depending on the degrees of your moon, something to consider is that Uranus is retrograde now back in Taurus. So if you have got a moon that's anywhere between, I would say, maybe 24 and 29 degrees, Uranus is still influencing what's going on with your home. That could be part of it. So you may see the potential to kind of still move around a little bit. Even going into next year, Uranus is going to go into Gemini. So it's going to represent being like, I could be here or I could be there. So there still is some unpredictable energy that can kind of happen with your living situation next year that's going to require you to be kind of like flexible. Oh, well, if you're 1 degree in Taurus, then Pluto's squaring your moon. That's what's going on. So for you, this basically means that with the Pluto square as a Pisces rising, yeah, there is definitely going to be subconscious things going on, fears and issues revolving around stability or not knowing where you're going to be, you know, living or changing. And it's kind of beaming down on your moon. So it's probably creating a lot of like sleepless nights or not feeling rested with where you're living. Anyway, with the Four of Cups coming up, the downside of this card is that this card can be so heavily fixated on what's not fulfilling, what's not going right, what doesn't feel good, what you haven't achieved, that you have to be careful because you can be so focused on the negative that you don't sometimes see the positives. And I will attribute that to probably Pluto squaring your moon. It's hard when you've got, you know, Pluto squaring your moon because there's a lot of pressure to change your home. And for you, a lot of it is your mindset, right? Because you've got the moon in the whole sign 3rd house. That can mean it's your mindset that's needing to shift, and it can be about what you're doing in terms of like rituals to change your moon or to move. It can also mean that it would be probably good for you to incorporate like vibrational therapy, like binaural beats and things that you're listening to when you're going to sleep to help start removing some of the blockages revolving around, oh, I'm not going to move. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to find anything. Like Taurus moons are picky when it comes to their living situation. But the problem with the Four of Cups is that, you know, you see the Three of Cups that's kind of at his feet and he's looking off into the distance and he feels disappointed or he's unfulfilled in some way, but he doesn't see the cup that's being handed to him. So it can mean that you become so hyper-focused on this isn't working, it's not happening, that you kind of miss all of the golden opportunities that can kind of pop in and you overlook some of the things that either A, are kind of connected to where we should have appreciation for what we do have, and B, it can also mean that we become in such a negative kind of funk and mindset that we stop looking or, you know, we get agitated, we give up, we are willing to settle. And I would say don't allow that to influence looking. If your moon is in Taurus, you also want to look at where your natal Venus is, because Venus is the dispositor of what's going on with your moon. This week, you're going to see Mercury conjunct Venus in Scorpio. So I think as like a Pisces rising, a lot of it is going to be your mindset revolving around moving, living. It might actually encourage you to look in other areas. And the confirmation card you got was a strength card. So that's basically saying that it can be pushing things out further. It can mean until you're starting to look at where there's going to be transits and things that are going to be impacting the Leo area of your horoscope. It can also involve the sun. She says, should I not be picky? Oh, so there you go. Venus is in Aquarius in your 12th house. So you have to manifest. You have to create a vision board. You have to create screensavers. It would be like good for digital art and media or other things. If you're creating like a little like altar space or something that has all of the, you know, like symbols and things that you're manifesting for where you're going to be living. And likely it also means that you may contemplate or considering like moving somewhere that's going to be more secluded or somewhere that's going to be more private. Near the sea is good, but it may be some kind of like communal situation where you're living on property that's got multiple properties on land. It could also mean that it could be several units that are going to be on land, or that there is going to be people who are kind of living together in a community and you'd be a part of that community, but you would have your own space. But yeah, you're going to find something. I think it's just the Pluto square. And probably the most challenging, I would assume, is like once you're getting into the end of January, going into February, when, you know, the sun, Mars, Pluto start coming into a square with your moon, that is going to push a move. So you're going to get to about the beginning of the year and you're going to go, okay, now I have to move. I couldn't imagine, knowing the transits that you have coming up just in December, moving. I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just going to say I think there's going to be way too much going on professionally to move. Focus on the manifestational stuff first. Most likely the next phase you're going to see is once you're getting into Capricorn season, when planets are now starting to kind of sextile what you have in Pisces, and they could also start trining things that you have in your third house, moves are going to be easier, right? So, I mean, you can look, but I couldn't imagine trying to move being a Pisces rising in the next month. I think work is just going to be too insane. But once again, don't get hung up on what's not working or what's not going in your direction. If you want to manifest a home, you have to go and create a vision board, especially if Venus rules your moon in the third house. And things that are digital. So like put it on your screens, on your phone, put it on your computer, put it on TVs, and go and create a whole digital vision board of what your home looks like. And then you need to be meditating on that regularly. And most likely, as you're seeing the squares coming in January, that's going to push you to actually move, right? Been through that transit. I'm not going to say don't be picky. I think Taurus, you can't tell a Taurus moon not to be picky. You guys are going to care about what the layout looks like. You want it to be comfortable. You're going to want it to be affordable. You don't want something that's like cheap and kind of like beat up. You're going to care about what the lawn looks like. You're going to want beautiful surroundings. Like, you're not going to take that out of you. I think a lot of this is Pluto, and it's about your faith and your belief system when it comes to whether or not you deserve a stable, you know, kind of secure, beautiful home. And that's about 12th house, manifesting that and bringing it into reality. So yeah, I had the Pluto moon square a couple of years ago. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. That was probably one of the most difficult transits I've ever gone through, especially when it comes to kind of figuring out where home is going to be. So I feel you. But hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight, and good luck with work. It's going to be real busy, girl. Really busy, which I think is probably going to help you, especially financially, where you're going to feel like you have a little bit more room in your budget to get what you want, right? So you don't feel like you have to like make sacrifices. All right, so if you guys are wanting to get a reading, scan the QR code. We can get you in the queue. Cassie said, oh, you nailed how I've been feeling. Thanks so much. I know a Leo at work who had my eye on, but it's a little hard to read. Maybe it's him. Out of course, I'll be patient with whoever it is. All right. All right, so let's see who else we've got. Feeling the same as a Pisces rising. You guys are, some Pisces and Pisces risings are going to move, and then you're going to move again, you know? So it's like, it's going to be a lot. So be flexible. All right, we've got Molly, Rosie, and then Emmy. What's up, Molly? She says, I'm waiting to hear about a potential promotion that I interviewed for, but I've been getting mixed messages about. When can I expect this outcome? All right, well, let's take a look. What can we tell Molly? She interviewed for this, and she's getting some mixed messages. So when is she going to get the outcome? What does the outcome look like? Momo says, I'm a Taurus rising, Leo sun, Leo moon. This new moon squared my Leo Chiron as well as my Aquarius Saturn. Ouch. Yeah, I mean, you know, the retrograde obviously is also making squares to Uranus. So, you know, as the Mercury retrograde is going through your fourth house, it brings up all those yucky emotions, and it's opposing Uranus, where you're like, what's going to happen? Like, oh no, excuse me, it's going through your seventh house, and it's opposing Uranus in your first. But it sounds like it's squaring Saturn in your 10th. So yeah, it's lighting all that stuff up. And on top of that, you have Leo Chiron, this new moon squared my Leo Chiron as well as my Aquarius Saturn. So it created a grand fixed cross in your chart. All right, so let's see what the cards have to say. And Uranus rules your 10th house. See, that's part of what's going on too. So it's like other people aren't communicating well with you if you're a Taurus rising, or at least it would seem. So what can we tell her about this potential promotion? What does it look like? And what or when could she expect an outcome? We've got the Page of Cups. We've got the Queen of Pentacles. We have got the King of Wands. So Good news is that it's looking pretty damn positive for you being in a situation where you're going to end up getting a promotion or a change in status or more money. I can see that with the Queen of Pentacles coming up in the Right Now card. I think that the Page of Cups really speaks to the relationship that you have with either a manager or management or whoever you've been going back and forth with. And this is about staying optimistic. And this isn't me just saying like, believe it till it happens. It's like, no, emotionally you need to get on board with, okay, I know that I gave it my best. I know that I'm good at my job. This is also about kind of keeping your emotions in check and not allowing yourself to go to worst case scenario land, assuming that, okay, you know, maybe I was just optimistic and thought I was going to get it, but I'm not cut out for it. Pages sometimes can doubt themselves. And Page of Cups especially can be somebody who's a little bit like head in the clouds. They can sometimes be a little idealistic that something is going to just happen. And I would say, no, I think that you're pretty grounded in your relationship with your job. I think that you show up, you do everything you need to do. I mean, Queen of Pentacles basically means that you're on time, you're a valued worker, you have good skills, you're somebody who also is worth a lot more than what you're actually currently getting paid. And this is about shifting from that perspective of the page of like, well, maybe I can, maybe I can't, to yes, I can, and I do, and this is what I do, and this is how I show up, and like this is how I bring value to the equation. So there's an evolution here as well. So I don't know if this is a job that you've been at for a while and you've been kind of evolving in, and there's been a sense of you growing and maturing and coming into this position and then really kind of seeing you in a different light now versus where you started. It can also mean that with the King of Wands, there is a back and forth that you're going over with a superior. Now, sometimes the King of Wands can quite literally be a man. So it could be like, you know, a main boss, or it can be a manager or somebody who is like a hiring manager making the ultimate decision. And usually that's like rapid. So when I see the Page of Cups coming up with the Queen of Pentacles, I would say most likely you're going to be hearing something like within like the next week or two. I don't think it's going to take very long for you to get your answer. She says, the hiring manager is someone I trust, so his lack of transparency has been difficult. Well, I don't think that it's on him. I think sometimes the Page of Cups can mean that they're going back and forth and they're trying to determine whether or not they are separating their personal kind of feelings or judgments about that person versus the job that they do, right? And I think that it's not him that's being held up. There's somebody who I think is above him. But ultimately, he's going to make the decision. I think that once he does make the decision, he's going to be like, okay, we're ready to go. Are you ready to start? You know, this is what we've decided. And I think that he knows personally, because he's maybe seen you evolve, or maybe he's hearing from another manager that's like, no, she's good, she's capable, she can do it. But somebody is going back and forth being like, when we throw her into this position or we put her into this new status or this new title, is she going to be able to manage? Is she going to be able to handle it? Because it looks like you're shifting into something where there's going to be a lot more work on your shoulders and a lot more responsibility. But I do think you can handle it. I do think that the King of Wands is probably going to be a conversation with somebody, whether it's a hiring manager or another manager that's like, look, we're going to give you a shot. And, you know, you're going to have to show us what you're made of and whether or not you're going to be able to kind of keep up. And if you're going to be able to maintain, and you're going to have to prove that, you know, you're worthy of this position. Not that it's not guaranteed, but I do think there is going to be a little bit of like a flame that's put underneath your butt when they do talk to you about taking on this position. And then there should be some rapid change pretty quickly. So don't get too much in your feelings about this, questioning whether or not you're going to get it. I think they want to make sure that they can for sure sign on to putting you in that position. I don't see any competition. I think if there's a page coming up around the Queen of Coins, it may mean that they have somebody else who's younger. They may have somebody else who has less experience. They might have somebody else who also is, you know, trying to get the position. But when they kind of weigh the two candidates for the job, they're going to realize that probably the person who has more experience with the company and that they know better is going to be a better fit, and that they're going to be giving you a chance and seeing if you can move forward. So I would say give it about 1 to 2 weeks before you see a change. And don't be surprised if there is like a bold kind of exchange where somebody's like, all right, kid, let's see what you can do, when you're going back and forth with them. But I do think that you're going to be successful in getting the position. The position feels like it will be trial by fire in a good way. This is super spot on for me. I think you'll be fine. I think it's about going into it being like very cool, calm, and collected. The Queen of Coins is somebody, even if she's not super experienced or she's not older, you know, at the job, She's just going to come in and she's going to be all business, and it's very little emotional reaction. And I think somebody else who they're dealing with, they know is not going to be able to work well under pressure, and is somebody who could likely kind of feel threatened by being told, hey, like, you know, this is not going to be easy. But I think that this is a lot of you having to go and like work with the big dogs, or like working with the boys with that King of Wands coming up. So let me know when you get the job. Good luck, Molly. All right, we have Rosie and Emmy on Super Chat. And I did see a couple people came in through PayPal. We've got Julie, Erica, and Christopher. So you guys are in the queue as well. And if you guys want to get in the queue before we call last call, scan the QR code up there. Send me your question in the memo. We're doing 1 card spreads for 20, 3 card spreads for 40. And if you're a level 4 person, you want to get your reading in, you should do it now. All right, so let's take a look at what my Super Chat ladies have to say. So Rosie says, gobble, gobble, health, wellness, and fitness outlook. I'm trying to focus on my diet and relating eating with self-respect. Any messages from the cards? Peace and light. Well, this is a good week to have that mindset before we go into Turkey Week. Are you a Cancer or a Cancer rising? I feel like that's like a very Cancer-y thing to say with some of those transits. Or do you have a lot of Cancer in your chart? All right, what can we tell Rosie about her health, fitness, her mindset? What does she need to know in regards to that? 1, 2, 3. She said, dude, I just got new sneakers to walk off the food. That's good. Queen of Cups. We've got the 5 of Cups, and we have got the 7 of Swords. She says, Pisces, Sun, Leo, Moon, Cap rising. Interesting. So that's the Saturn and Neptune in your first house vibes then. All right, here's the deal. The 5 of Cups and the 7 of Cups, the 5 of Cups and the 7 of Swords does talk about navigating tricky emotional waters, okay? So what I think about when I think about some of the transits that you've got going on, being like a Capricorn rising, you know, Saturn is about to wake up in your 3rd house. So that's about your mindset, and it's also about walking, right? Movement. And I think Saturn and Neptune in the 3rd house can mean like, there is a sense of that being your meditation, that being your flow. And I've heard people who start their fitness or wellness journey where they're like, I just started walking. And then, you know, going for a short 15-minute walk once a day turned into 2 miles, turned into counting steps, turned into running, turned into weightlifting. And so this is supposed to be you getting into the zone or in the flow of movement and focusing on moving your body and the effect that it has on your emotional and your mental health. I was talking about this in like last week's video. I was telling a lot of people, the Saturn Neptune energy in Aries is so heavy. A lot of people are feeling depressed. A lot of people are feeling isolated. People aren't sleeping well. People are kind of falling into bad habits. So when I see the Queen of Cups coming up, you want to make it more about when I move my body, yes, it's a form of self-respect. And when I'm, you know, taking care of myself, it doesn't always mean treating myself, but how some of these habits actually affect your emotional or your mental health in a more positive way. And I would start there. I also think that the 4 of Cups or the 5 of Cups is talking about, you know, maybe being in situations where you're a bit bummed out because you feel like you can't socially engage or you can't celebrate things the way that you used to celebrate things, right? Like Cups could literally mean, you know, during the holidays, you like to have a couple drinks or you like to indulge and you're happy and you want to eat. And this year you're like, okay, that's not the way that I'm going to be kind of celebrating this year. And you're kind of maybe feeling bummed out or feeling left out, that you're not getting to do what you would usually kind of do when it comes to celebrating or enjoying yourself. And so that's understandable. I would say with the 7 of Swords coming up, you have to be very careful because this is about whether or not you're going to be able to trust yourself. If you're telling yourself, hey, this is my goal, you know, and you're holding yourself accountable, it almost looks like if you don't meet those goals, you're going to be beating yourself up. And I don't really feel like that's conducive either. You know, we're humans. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we fall off. But falling off and getting back up is how you want to navigate stuff moving forward. Especially when I think that everything stems from more your mindset. So if you recognize that when you're moving your body, you're eating well, and also maybe mentally realizing that if you're all black and white and you don't have some kind of like freedoms in some capacity, then you're going to feel like you're holding yourself to a standard that's impossible. When you fall off, then you kind of have a spiral. And the Seven of Swords is, oh, then I can't, I feel like I failed, or I can't trust myself. I think that maybe by abiding by an 80-20 rule would be good for you, in all things. It means that 80% of the time you are, moving your body, taking care of yourself. Maybe you're finding ways to eat well, you're finding ways to stay active, but you're leaving room for that 20% where, rather than feeling depressed and kind of left out, or that you can't kind of engage socially with some people, you're going to allow yourself to have that one cheat day, or you're going to allow yourself to have that day where you're like, okay, I'm going to, choose something, but I'm going to choose better habits. Instead of having, a large serving, you're having a smaller serving, or you're opting for foods that are going to be whole foods. And learning to trust yourself is what it looks like, and being in certain situations where in the moment you're making better decisions that's going to lead to long-lasting change. But certainly I think Saturn and Neptune being in your third house, if you want to listen to a podcast, if you want to listen to music, if you want to listen to motivational speaking, or even something that's more meditation or Zen based, you want to get into the flow where you're moving your body and you don't realize that you've been working out or walking or jogging for so long. And you'll start to see some of the changes happen. And having also, I think that Pisces sun in the mix, that's also kind of laying the groundwork for being in a situation where part of your identity, because the sun is obviously connected to health and habits, is that mind, body, spirit balance. And so Saturn is really reinforcing that right now. Biking, rowing, flow movements like yoga, Pilates, and walking, all of these things can be really beneficial. And you want to be keeping strong with all of them until Saturn and Neptune leave your sign. And the next year it's going to go into your fourth house, and it's going to be a completely different lesson. But Uranus is going to be going into your sixth house. So to me, I feel like there's going to be some stuff that's going to be coming up for Capricorn and Capricorn risings, where spontaneous walking is going to be part of your daily routine. You might also find that this is going to be about you incorporating, technology and kind of digital things into how you're working out, or maybe you're factoring that into your daily routine and you're breaking it up a little bit more. And also this is going to be about your mental health and your mindset, and that if you're having any breathing issues or nervous system issues, breathwork exercises can be positive and really helpful for you as well. So learning to trust yourself, not feeling like you have to completely cut yourself off from social situations, and looking at the positive upside of the emotional changes as you stick to the plan. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Rosie. Good on you getting a head start on your New Year's resolutions. What's up, Emmy? Emmy says, Aquarius rising, Pisces sun, Cancer moon here. Ever since the Virgo solar eclipse exactly conjunct my 7th house north node and planets passed over it, I've been receiving synchronicities. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so if you have Pisces, let's see, Aquarius rising, Pisces sun. So ever since you had the Virgo eclipse, which was technically in your 7th house, exactly conjunct your 7th house north node. So your north node is 29 degrees of Virgo, right? Solar eclipse, yeah, around the end of September. I have been receiving synchronicities. So it sounds like to me you have, I'm just trying to think here, Aquarius, Capricorn, so you must be like what, a late Aquarius rising if you had the north node eclipse in your 7th house. Hi, question is longer, sorry, it's under super chat. I'm seeing it. So basically the eclipse in your 7th house with the north node, you're seeing that there's some stuff going on. Oh, about a friend I've been in love with and never got over after he told me he wouldn't do long distance. I haven't had contact with him since August, so I'd like some guidance if these are clues he will re-enter my life in a romantic capacity, or if the universe is just being rude. Okay, so something that I would say is that solar eclipse planted a seed. That solar eclipse will unfold during a certain timeline. All right, so if we go in sequential order, starting in Sagittarius season, really, mid to the end of December you're going to see some themes that are going to be connected to that solar eclipse. Most likely, that's going to be because planets are going through Sagittarius that are going to be aspecting or squaring where that solar eclipse was. So it can be whether or not there's social connections or things that are going to allow you to kind of see him or mutual friends. Then you're going to see the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo in, I think, the beginning of March of next year. That'll be the concluding eclipse. I can give you more information about that. And Saturn and Neptune right now are coming back into opposition with that. So whatever is happening may actually take until, February, March to kind of see clearly and figure out whether or not that person's coming back, just in terms of your astrology. Also, there's been Mars retrograde in your 7th house. There's been Mercury retrograde in your 7th house. And as you get into next year, Jupiter is going to go into your 7th house, and then you're going to start having eclipses that are going to be in Leo. So there's a lot more relationship stuff yet to come. But let's ask the cards, is there any connection or correlation to this friend or the back and forth that you were doing? Is the universe just being rude, or is there a message that's trying to kind of get across in regards to this person? All right, well, we have got the King of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Six of Cups. Very polar opposite cards, because I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm just going based off of what you said, where clearly, been in love but never got over, and he told me he wouldn't do long distance. I mean, I think that the Six of Cups is saying there's still feelings there, and that's coming from like a male energy. So it doesn't really matter if they're a water sign, although the King of Cups can be indicating, a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. But it does talk about a past romantic emotional connection to a man, and that there are still some feelings that are lingering. That factored in with the Ten of Swords, the other interpretation I could have is that there is a possibility that you're misinterpreting or misreading things, okay? That you're going, oh, I feel like somebody's supposed to be coming back because there's this familiar energy, and is it supposed to be him? And is there somebody coming in? When in reality, there may be a possibility that this is trying to clear out stuff in regards to that person to potentially bring in another relationship. Okay, that's pretty common when you see eclipses that are happening in your 7th house, especially if it's tied to your North Node, because it's more with that eclipse that was on the North Node, it was opposing Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house, which means you were having to kind of wait for other people to kind of take action in their lives, and you're sitting around waiting and wondering, am I crazy? Saturn, Neptune in your 1st, are they coming back? Am I seeing things? Am I making this up? And you'll start to see, once again, Sag season, and then in March is when I would be watching. Does somebody come back around and reconnect with you? Now, whether it's a new person that's coming in or it's him, I think in the past, the King of Cups is saying there's still feelings there. There's still interest there. I don't feel like he just cut it off and then there was no feelings. I think he cut it off, Ten of Swords, because he didn't want to do the distance, or he felt anxious as to whether or not that would be like a false start in the relationship, or a difficult way to start the relationship by doing something, at a distance. So he instead was like, nope, we're just going to cut and run here. But the Six of Cups, if you're asking, hey, is he coming back around? Am I going to reconnect with him? The Six of Cups is like the 100% yes. Because this is the reconnection card. This is about reconciliation. This is about meeting in a place where maybe it's better timing. This could also mean that maybe he has kind of realized some of the decisions that he made by cutting you out of his life was not the smartest move. He may be physically more so around, or there could be a run-in or a reconnection with him that could feel good, because it's not like there's a lot of pressure. You would realize that there is still a lot of chemistry there. There's a lot of connection there. And also an opportunity for you guys to potentially try again. And it can feel like very sweet and very innocent. There's no pressure. It's much more about the universe intervening and trying to find a way for you to reconnect now that he has kind of seen what it's like on the other side of not potentially having you. Because I could see the King of Cups and the Ten of Swords being like, okay, at the time I made that decision, but I realized I was protecting my emotions, and it kind of left me lonely and isolated. And, I just really would like to connect with her, run into her again. She says, also for reference, he's a late Virgo rising. So the eclipse is literally on your descendant with the North Node, and it's on his ascendant. So it's a manifestation of that. Yeah, totally confused. Clear out or come in, no pressure for sure. Balls in his court. But my money would be on knowing that he's a Virgo rising, that Mercury rules him, and it's going to retrograde in his 7th in end of February going into March. That would be a reconciliation time, because it is saying it's going to be closer to about 6 months. So it's going to be getting into the spring before you're going to see this. But he's having to come to terms with the fact that he closed that door, and the ball is in his court. But if he can put the ego aside and realize that maybe he squashed it too soon without giving it a shot, or if there's going to be some serendipitous situation that makes you guys run into each other or reconnect, it could actually be an opportune moment for you guys to try again. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Saturn is on my sun and his descendant, and it's been some weird transits. If it's on your sun, you're needing to hold back and focusing on yourself. If it's on his descendant, it means that there are certain things that are wrapping up or kind of concluding in relationships, and he's got partners wondering, when are you going to come in? Oh, Virgo risings. I think that you'll have to look at also what's going on with your 7th house ruler in your natal chart by transit, and his 7th house ruler, which would be Jupiter. But Jupiter and Saturn are in a trine right now, so somebody's trying to telepathically connect with him. He's just not getting the message, you know? All right, well, hopefully that was helpful. If you guys want to get a reading, scan the QR code before we call last call. You can scan it right up there, and you can get in the queue for a reading. I've got Julie, Erica, and Christopher. You guys are next in the queue. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I like these. They're kind of grown out, but it's like it's just red with silver cat eye over it, but they have a cool color to them. And I got Amanda too. So let's take Julie. All right, Julie says, what is the main energy focus for 2026? All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see. No whammies. Julie says, I'm an Aquarius sun, Virgo moon, Cancer rising. All right. Cancer risings. I think the Cancer risings are going to find that this is, well, this is the year of, I think, really focusing on belief in yourself. I think the Jupiter transit is about that. And I think you're also going to see a lot of good relationship stuff happening too. But let's ask the cards specifically for Julie. What is going to be her energy, main focus for 2026? Man, this 3 of coins, it keeps coming up. 3 of coins, 9 of wands, and the Queen of Pentacles. Interesting. It's a lot of like, you know, if you're getting knocked back down, you get back up, right? And I think that in a nutshell, I mean, 3 of Pentacles is work, right? So when you think about 2026 starting with your 6th house lord retrograde in your 1st, it's how am I changing something about my work, where I'm working, my schedule, my habits, and also focusing on teamwork and team effort. I think that's going to be a big theme. I think that the 3 of Pentacles can mean that you're working harder when it comes to your goals. You're working harder when it comes to balancing your resources and your finances. It can mean also that it's going to be about connecting and collaborating with the right people. It can also mean that the very first 3 months of the year is when you're going to see some major kind of like building energy, which I would agree. Certainly having Jupiter in your 1st house helps, being more optimistic and more organized and more kind of health focused. But Cancer risings, especially if you have anything 0 to about, I would say, I think it's going to be about 12, 13 degrees. I can't remember where Saturn's going to retrograde, but Saturn's going to go through your 10th house. Positive is that that's giving you an opportunity to work and work some more, right? Become a manager, level up, launch a new business, move into a new career, work independently. But Saturn does not do very well in Aries, and obviously it's a sign that's going to square you. So you're done with the Saturn-Jupiter squares. You already got the pinch of that earlier this year. And I think that the 3 of Pentacles is saying that you're having to work very hard to get ahead of some of the challenges that are probably going to be coming about March and April, which is when that energy is really, really going to start to hit. 9 of Wands is also talking about healing something. Now, this could be emotionally, this could be physically, this could mean also there is a sense of dealing with past hurts or issues. It can mean that for a lot of you guys, you've had a Mercury retrograde in your 6th and a retrograde in your 1st. Some of you guys are dealing with health issues. You're dealing with having to mend stuff with coworkers. You're trying to maybe make some changes to your habits. And this is reminding you that, you know, you can't give up. You're going to have to really pace yourself in 2026. I'd want to think of the year for Cancer rising as like a long distance race. It's not necessarily a sprint. And you're going to have to be really in tune with what's going on with your health stuff a little bit more than usual. And then the Queen of Pentacles is definitely a card that I would want to get, especially if you're, you know, a Virgo moon. because this does mean that your chart ruler is feeling at least a little bit more supported physically, financially, and emotionally. I mean, man, Cancer rising, you got South Node going through your moon sign, you've got eclipses going through your moon sign. This can be about mental health. This can also be about, changes with your home or changes when it comes to, communicating and expressing your feelings. But the Queen of Pentacles is saying you're solid. This is a year where if you're investing in yourself, it's going to show. Whether that's through health, fitness, diet, anything connecting to your work and your responsibilities. Certainly the Saturn transit, when it's done, it'll mean that you're coming out on top. And so I do think this is going to be a year of some major shifts in regards to your finances and also your values, leveling up, investing in yourself, and really showing up in a polished, kind of mature way. And feeling like this is going to manifest as some really good changes when it comes to your finances as well as your career. I would say that with your transits too. Jupiter will go into your second house of money. You'll see that over the summer with eclipses. Saturn is going to trine that. So if you're willing to maybe be a little bit more adventurous and pioneering in your career, it'll be positive for not only, I think, your finances, but also your sense of self-esteem. So pace yourself though, because this can mean that you're having to work more on taking better care of yourself and also learning to ask for help or delegating tasks, collaborating with other people so that way you're not feeling like you have to take everything down alone. She said, I'm dropping down to part-time, working in January, starting school full-time. We'll try and get my side hustle for your home business. I like that. I love Saturn and Aries for Cancer risings because you guys are going to feel this kind of entrepreneurial pioneering spirit. And if you have decided recently with the Mercury retrograde to kind of step back from work, whether that was over, July and August with the retrogrades or this one now, it's opening the door to, you might notice there is some changes going on with your money and your schedule, but it's full steam ahead for you to really focus on having that success and that independence come the new year. So that's a perfect example of some of your transits. I love that you have that 8th house sun too. So with Pluto and the North Node eclipses, it can be really good for gaining and making more money too. So what kind of a business are you getting into? What's your side hustle? All right, we've got Erica, Christopher, and Amanda, and we're gonna call last call. So if you guys wanna get your readings, let us know, get in the queue. I'm a floral designer. I love that. I really, that's probably something I would do if I'm not doing what I'm doing, among maybe a few other things, maybe running a bakery. I seriously thought about taking floral courses out here. There was like a 1-week course they were doing out in Austin that was for certification and stuff for like weddings and all kinds of things. I love that though. Definitely do it. I think that's so great. Love flowers. All right, let's see what Julie has to say. Julie says, what's the, oh no, wait, just talk to Julie, sorry. We've got Erica. Erica says, hey Candace, I'm a late degree Scorpio rising, Taurus sun. Woof, how are you doing right now? The last 2 weeks has been nightmarish, I'm sure. Cancer moon. Uranus is about to hit my 7th house Venus. At 27. Well, you've already had it hit it once. And if it's at 27, it's a Gemini degree. So it's about how you communicate with partners, or it's about you going back and forth with more than one person, maybe. I had an intense short connection with an Aries sun, Pisces moon that ended abruptly 3 weeks. Is there any hope for my love life? Well, my darling, while you have Uranus on your Venus, anything goes, all right? Especially when you have Venus. I mean, Venus is in Taurus, so it's a great placement, and it's in the 7th house. The problem is that while Venus is going back and forth while Uranus is going back and forth over your Venus, it means that there are sudden on and off situations going on with relationships. So people are hot and cold, and it'll bring in multiple people, and it's about whether or not you guys are communicating well. This Mercury retrograde has been going through your ascendant, and the new moon was there too. So it's a lot of like reintegrating into yourself to figure out who you are outside of relationships, and if you're changing the way that you're communicating or connecting with other people. And honestly, an Aries sun, Pisces moon, that sounds like one heck of a combination. Depending on the ascendant, you got to consider Saturn and Neptune are going over the moon in some way, shape, or form. So they can be kind of hiding out in relationships. But let's take a look. Is there any hope for Erica's love life? What does she need to know? Cancer rising. Woof. All right, Ace of Cups, 10 of Wands, and the Tower card. Please don't go into this being like, this is going to be a hot mess, because it almost feels like, to some extent, it's once again, it's more your astrology right now. If Uranus is on your 7th house lord, there is no stability. And what's interesting is the Ace of Cups comes up first. So it can be saying that what you're either not aware of or what is kind of lingering or has been around is opportunity for relationships. But Ace of Cups is saying it's the new beginning. Just meeting people, getting to know them, connecting with them in an emotional way, you know, feeling things out. 10 of Wands is saying that even though there was this connection, there is either a feeling of getting to know them and being like, wow, this person's going through a lot, or they have a lot on their plate, or this could be a handful, like this could be a lot of work, or there would be a lot of heavy lifting that you would be dealing with in this relationship. Naturally, because Uranus is on Venus, it means that you're dealing with people who are not stable. You're dealing with people who need independence or freedom, or they're not going to be consistent. So you may have looked at the relationship and gone, it's going to be a lot, but I'm willing to take it on, or I'm willing to, you know, hang in there and see if I can, you know, be with them and, you know, see if I can support them or work through whatever they've got going on. But I think it would have been a dumpster fire, literally, the Tower. It means that, yeah, there's been a rug pull and you were like, what the heck is going on? Why did this all just suddenly fall apart? And why am I the one left, you know, kind of standing, wondering, you know, why you won't let me in or what I did wrong? I think you went into it with the right intentions, but I think that the Mercury retrograde is doing its thing with that opposition to Uranus that's making you maybe scorp out a little bit, being like, what did I do? Is it me? What's going on? And it's more about you going, you know what? Other people are not necessarily consistent right now. They might be going through some stuff, and it's all going to be about how we are communicating. Some Scorpio risings are communicating too intensely. I don't know if that's the case for you. I wouldn't say that. I think it's about you putting yourself out there and really trying to be vulnerable and connecting with this person. But I feel like it might have been just this person got overwhelmed, they got freaked out, and probably felt like they couldn't juggle a relationship on top of whatever else they had kind of going on in their life. She said, definitely felt a lot of inconsistency, stonewalling me hard, where I had no choice but to choose myself at the end of the day. And so, you know, if the 10 of Wands is coming up with the Tower card, it's basically saying, yeah, it sucks, but you saved yourself in the long run, because that would have been you having to do all the heavy lifting in the relationship, and it potentially would have blown up. It probably wouldn't have been a good idea to move forward in that relationship. You're going to have to wait until, you know, Uranus is off of your Venus. So just kind of looking at the transits, right now it's at 29 degrees. It looks like it's going to come back and it's going to hit your Venus again. And that's going to be happening around late January. And then it'll go direct, and then it's going to hit your Venus again, and that's going to be in March. And so when Venus and Uranus are no longer conjunct around May, June, that's when the transit's going to be over. Now, there's always something going on, okay? That doesn't mean that things are necessarily better. But I think Capricorn season can be really interesting, because communication in relationships can get better as long as you're communicating. You could also meet somebody while you're traveling or online. And you're going to see the real breakthrough that's going to happen right around May of next year. And then you're going to be rid of that Uranus-Venus transit. But there's always more than one person whenever you're dealing with 27. So it can mean somebody comes in, somebody, you know, leaves. And so I think there's going to be a lot of shifting or going back and forth. And I would say keep things moving. If you get the impression that people aren't looking for something serious, you don't have to necessarily commit to them, or, you know, feel like they're the only person that you're seeing. And focus on the communication. You know, you can work through a lot as a Scorpio rising as long as somebody's communicating with you, right? Good luck. Every single Scorpio rising I know has been going through that. All of them. Go and look at what transits are happening in your progress chart too. That'll give you a little bit more idea. Look at your progress Venus and your 7th house Lord. All right. We have got Christopher. You're welcome. And this is last call, so get in if you guys want. Christopher, and then I have Amanda. And just as a reminder, guys, I'm not going to be back until the 5th. So we'll come back with astrology, but we're taking probably next week off. Christopher says, Leo rising, Sag sun, Gemini moon. I'm saving for a home and also wanting to have a family in said house. Just went through a breakup, 2 years, values didn't align. All right. Seeking to know what to rectify to achieve that goal of a family and home. Also, the woman I am no longer with, her placements are 19 degrees Taurus Sun, 20 degrees Taurus Moon, 3 degrees Virgo Rising. So she may change her mind about a relationship in the spring. And I kind of feel inclined to tell you, because you have all that fixed energy with your rising sign. You know, Leo risings are kind of like, all right, Mercury retrograde starting the 5th, changes with a relationship. Now I'm having to rethink and refigure everything when it comes to my home and my living situation now that that relationship has changed. You have really good transit starting in the new year for relationship changes. When you start seeing, you know, the Aquarius eclipses in your 7th house, you're also going to find that as a Sag sun, right, the Mercury retrograde went right over your sun with Mars. So something kind of got cut off because values didn't align. Mercury rules your 2nd house of values. So it's quite literal. So let's see what you need to know as you're trying to kind of see if you can make that home and family goal a reality. What can we tell Chris about that situation? I can hear dogs snoring in the other room. All right, so we've got the 10 of Cups, we've got the Tower card, and we've got the 9 of Cups. Obviously, the 10 of Cups is the home and family card. This is the happily ever after. This is about having the home, the wife, the kids, having all the fulfillment. And it does say that that was the plan. Like, I think that you went into the relationship with this person being like, well, I'm dating with purpose and I'm wanting to, you know, be with somebody who I can build a life with. And I want to connect with somebody who shares in my same kind of vision for the future and they want the same things that I want. And you went into it with the best intentions. Obviously, the road to hell is paved with the best intentions. The Tower card is making an appearance here, which is saying there are some things that have come up that was rattling. It upended the whole thing. It was like lots of shocks and surprises and major revelations about this relationship that totally restructured the way that you look at what your goals are. And so it's been difficult, obviously. It's also been very emotionally, I think, you know, creating a little bit of feeling unstable and kind of rattled. And whatever has happened. Like, I think that the relationship is actually done. Sometimes when you go through a breakup, when the retrograde's in the 5th house or the 7th house, the breakup happens and then somebody changes their mind and they come back. But what I will tell you as a Leo rising is that knowing that there is going to be a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio next fall. There's also going to be a Venus retrograde in Scorpio next fall, that you want to use this Mercury retrograde and you want to go, there's a lesson here. Whatever is needing to be undone or whatever is needing to change, you're doing it to prevent the inevitable, which could have happened within a year's time. Like, it would have been harder for you to get out of that relationship a year from now if you guys did move into a house or buy something, or if you guys did get married or start talking about buying a family. I think that it's almost like you had to rip the bandage off early. But also with the Tower, it means there are things that have been said or things that have happened or that have gone down that there's no going back now. Now there is no foundation for rebuilding. So I don't really think I would kind of keep this person in the back of my mind as somebody that I would be like, oh yeah, I can go back to that person. I would be like, nope, that's chip sailed. They may have revealed something, or there have been some things that have been said that really put things in perspective and also made you realize, oh my God, now there's a fire under my ass. Now I'm wasting more time, right? And I don't want you to think like that, because the fire can be purging and it can be purifying. So it means it's just getting everything out in the open, clearing it out. So that way there can be renewal. And then the final card you have is the 9 of Cups, which in this card you see like a prince or like a young man, and he's sitting in his castle and he's got all of the cups that are around him, and all of his wishes are being fulfilled. This is like the green light card, getting everything that you've ever wanted. So to see the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups coming up with the Tower card, it's always funny when I have a client that has the Tower card. They'll be like, I don't understand. I'm manifesting the new job, or I'm manifesting the perfect relationship, or getting married, or I'm manifesting the house. You know, why is all this stuff happening? And nobody will tell you that when you're being very specific about what you want, if the foundation of your life, be that your living situation, your relationship, whatever, was built on something that was not going to be sustainable, yeah, then the Tower card comes in and says, okay, I'm the bulldozer. You want all of these things. We have to shovel all of this stuff. We have to get it out because you're asking for something that this is not going to give you. And so I would try to look at the situation in an optimistic way that's like, well, it's unfortunate. I really hoped or wished it could have been that person, but maybe this is like a shakeup that I needed to be able to really start getting solid with what my goals are. And a lot of this is about redirecting the energy towards you, right? So maybe you felt like you were in a relationship where you went into it and you thought she wanted the same thing, but you were starting to give pieces of yourself away and you were starting to kind of back away from, or maybe making sacrifices on what your personal goals were. And you started to realize that doing that wasn't going to lead you to your ultimate goal because you may not have had somebody who was willing to build with you. So now when the 9 of Cups comes up, it's you going, I am going after only what I want. And so if what I want is having a family or getting married or being able to play house, I'm investing in that. I'm getting things straight on my end. So I'm starting to build all of that environment and I'm starting to kind of create that life. So that way it's, you know, kind of like manifesting or bringing in the perfect person who's going to kind of come into that world. I think a lot of it's about getting that set up before the person comes in. And this is not in a material way. This is more, you've made the money, you've bought the house, or you've been able to build the kingdom. You've been able to do things the way that you want. And so maybe you're going to connect with somebody who you're going to go, you know what, I've worked really hard and I'm not going to bring somebody in unless I feel like they're going to be appreciative of what I've created. This person may not have appreciated what you were trying to dream up or talk about or do. This person may not have also been on the same wavelength as you. So even though it's rather disappointing, I would say I look at this as more or less kind of the fertilizer for the new life to kind of grow. And I think that within the next year, especially when the Venus retrograde happens, you might actually finally be able to segue into something that's going to be a new home or living situation that can actually give you exactly what you want. But yeah, I think you might have kind of dodged a bullet on this one. I mean, the two recent relationship cards is like, what could have happened? The Tower has come up. It's saying, let it go, let it burn, you know? And for all the fire signs, this has been really difficult because the water trines are happening in houses where you just have to let things go. So focus on what you want, building your kingdom, right? That's my advice. Thank you so much for the insight. You're absolutely right. I agree. I look at it as a new beginning, even though it has been so emotional. Yes, but wait till those North Node eclipses start happening in your 7th house, my dude. Because when those eclipses start happening, what you're going to find is Mars is in that house. It's at a 19, so it's relationship oriented, and it's going to square Uranus. So it's squaring stuff going on in your 10th house, which means you're probably going to meet somebody within 6 months' time and you're going to have a relationship status or a change in your status that can be rather significant. So I think you have a lot to look forward to with that. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, we got Amanda and Silk. She slid in there. Amanda says 29-degree Virgo rising. Oh my gosh, how many are in this chat right now? Can you guys come and organize my closet? Oh, I'm 0 degrees Libra rising. I wish I had just a little bit of Virgo energy in my chart. I don't. So 29-degree Virgo rising, Cap Sun here. Just ended a long-term relationship. I keep seeing and hearing that a long-term relationship may enter my life around spring or next year, February through April. Can you pull some cards? If so, additional info. Please, timing, sign, and will it be long-term? So 29 is wrapping something up, right? Conclusion and completion. And the reason why you're hearing this is because Saturn and Neptune are retrograde and they still have to hit 29 degrees. So that means it's still wiping out and washing out pretty much anything now through, let's say, about January into February of next year until Saturn and Neptune go back into Aries. So there can literally be crickets, or there can be a sense of dealing with people who are afraid to show up, or people who are having bad habits, or there could be secrets, or not knowing exactly where they stand, you know, when it comes to relationships with you. And the 7th house is where you meet people and people are hiding. So with that being said, let's see if we see anything coming in next year. Any additional info or timing or signs can be helpful. We have got the 5 of Swords, the 3 of Swords, and the 4 of Wands. So 5 of Swords, 3 of Swords, I think is pretty accurate. I think that there can be a lot of frustration right now because you feel like that the person who you were dealing with just kind of waved the white flag and did not try to fight for the relationship. And sometimes when the Five of Swords comes up, there is a tendency to get angry and get frustrated and like want somebody to show up and go, you know, toe to toe with you. That could be literally, that could be in communication. That could mean that, you know, you're agitated and you're frustrated that they're not fighting for the relationship. They're not fighting for you. And to be honest with you, like Neptune and Saturn being in Pisces means that they're retreating. They're retrograde right now. And they're acting kind of like you know, like fish in a koi pond. You know, disturb the waters and the fish they kind of run and hide. So partners are going to do that while Saturn and Neptune are in your 7th house cusp. One easy remedy for this while Saturn and Neptune is retrograde is you literally have to get up every single day. You have to look in the mirror and you have to go, I don't want a relationship. I don't need anybody. I'm so happy on my own. I'm so glad that I'm by myself. I don't care if I ever get into a relationship again. And I know this sounds counterproductive, but Saturn and Neptune are retrograde. It's in Pisces. So literally you're going to get the opposite because it's a double-bodied sign of whatever you're manifesting. So the more that you're focusing on, they're not showing up for me. Why do they leave me? Why is this happening? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with me? You're going to perpetuate that energy. It's going to make this whole thing a lot more difficult. Don't fight back. You have to release. And it's hard. I know. Then you have the Three of Swords, which is, yeah, your heart's broken because you feel like they're not showing up, but also this is about taking the swords out of the heart and being able to kind of heal the situation and kind of treat the wounds and get down to the core of it and realize that there's probably been some issues there all along. I have not seen a single Virgo rising and Libra risings, because they've had it, Saturn and Neptune in their 7th house, who have not said to me, why aren't they fighting for me? Why are they hiding from me? Why are they hiding this from me? What's wrong with them? Why won't they tell me? And like, it's the astrology. And 29 degrees deals with the heart space, and it also deals with romance and children and drama. So if these are people who weren't going to be totally vulnerable, open-hearted with you, if they weren't going to potentially be long-term marriage or relationship material, or potentially somebody who you're going to have a kid with, right? Saturn is about children. They had to go, and like they were just wasting your time. And I hate to say that, but like it's better to get the show on the road, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But I would be super stoked to be a Virgo rising going through a breakup right now. Personally, I would, because Saturn is going to go direct soon in your 7th, so it could be the ending of one phase of a relationship, the beginning of new, which could be stronger around March and April. This is speaking specifically about the spring. So it could be the spring equinox. So when the sun is leaving Pisces and it's going into Aries, that's when you can see the change. And that's when the sun is going to come into conjunction with Saturn. You know, we're going to see Mars go through there. We're going to see Venus go through there. And it can be a young, exciting, new person who's coming into your life because it's still going to be in your 7th house Aries. Pisces, it's interesting being like a late Virgo rising because Pisces energy is kind of like wimpy. And then when you see all these planets go into Aries, you're going to find somebody who's going to show up and they're going to be like young and hot and like athletic and exciting. And they're going to want to, you know, be all over you. And I think that the Four of Wands is basically saying you have to let this one go, right? It's difficult, but if you're focusing on why they didn't show up for you, you're going to miss an opportunity to connect with somebody pretty prominent. I would say within 4 months, closer to March going into April. It looks like it could potentially be, it's not giving me a definitive sign. Yeah, even Four of Swords is saying you have to wait. So it's not giving me a definitive sign, but I would say watch for somebody who's going to have more of like an Aries energy. They can have a lot of Mars in their chart. They could be somebody who's younger. They could be somebody who's athletic. And also watch for parties, celebrations, weddings, and gatherings, because I also think this is saying that you're potentially kind of crying over somebody that you have to release, when in reality you should be celebrating because it's clearing the path to bring in the next person. Now you also have to go and look at what's going on with your natal Jupiter, because Jupiter rules your 7th house. Well, Jupiter right now is in Cancer. It's in your 11th house of friends, right? And this is about parties and celebrations. So friends might play matchmakers. You might go to friends' parties, gatherings, or whatever, and you might meet someone. Very strong, obviously, in March and April. It's also going to be really strong in June and July of next year. But what I have observed with clients is when Saturn is leaving one house, he'll leave a gift. And usually when Saturn is walking away from the 7th house, it might be a relationship ends, but it's going to bring a new relationship in. I would also say dating is going to get really good in December and January. You're going to have Mars, Venus, the Sun, Mercury, you know, all going through your 5th house. I mean, girl, get out there and start dating. End of December into January. Give yourself some time to heal, obviously. But I would be really open to dating December through March. Watch for the Mercury retrograde. We might reevaluate or hear from the past in March. But then I think that's more about closure and really embracing the next chapter of what's going to happen relationship-wise, right? Astro Fox says, Gemini rising, my 10th house has been mind-bending ride, ready to focus on making great friends. Yeah, the mutables have definitely been in the thick of it. That's for sure. Hopefully that's helpful and you get some healing with that broken heart, Amanda. In the end, I think it'll be better. And what doesn't kill you calls you 6 months later. I think that's another situation that you might be seeing during the Mercury retrograde in the spring. All right, Silk. Silk says, been feeling really stuck in love recently. I had a bad experience where I feel traumatized and frozen. I want to ask if there's any advice or if there's anyone coming for sweet love. All right, let's see what we can tell Silk, who's been going through it. What does the cards have to say? Is there any advice or anyone coming? Oh, I see a whole lot of men. Knight of Cups and the King of Wands and the Four of Pentacles. Why do I see like a scenario coming up where I feel like you're going to be going back and forth between two people? And you might be pulled in two different directions. Like, I understand that you have had a bad experience, something's been going on. It's very likely that the Knight of Cups is trying to get you to be more aware of what's happening with your emotions and maybe not just taking an approach where you're waiting for somebody to show up and make things happen and you're more in control of protecting your emotional space, right? So usually when the Knight of Cups comes up, it's all about the whining and the dining and the romance, but it doesn't necessarily mean it lasts. And the King of Wands can indicate that there's more of a, no, I'm taking action, or I'm going to be kind of, being direct with where I see myself going and what I'm wanting rather than just going along for the ride. But I also feel like this can be a water sign and a fire sign. And with the Four of Coins kind of coming up, it means that you may be feeling as if you're considering both, or you're keeping your options open, or you don't want to let both of them go because both of them have an appeal, and maybe you're really drawn to, the Knight of Cups because he's romantic and he's creative and he's charismatic and he's sentimental, but you're like, is he too soft, or is he unreliable? Is he just here for a good time but not a long time? But then there's this other person you're going to go back and forth with who's very confident, and they're successful, and they're adventurous, and they're mature. They might be a little bit older. And also you may be a little bit more open with the fact that you're like, I'm torn because I've got this person that I've been seeing, but then there's this new person that I've met, and they're patient, and they're probably even understanding that you're considering or contemplating other options. And like, in spite of that, they're going to be like, okay, I'm still going to be here. Go do your thing. You'll figure it out. I'll still be around. And it's going to make you kind of confused and weigh your options with that Four of Pentacles and go, do I want something that seems logical, or do I want something that, seems like it's just all emotional? And you're going to go back and forth for several weeks trying to figure out which one you want. Neo says, geez, we're all going through relationship woes. I blame the Mercury-Venus conjunction this week. Everybody's trying to decide, do we let something go or do we hold on to it? You may need to give yourself a little bit of time here, because I feel like that Four of Coins means that you're still a little guarded, that you're still kind of guarded for good reason, and wanting to really make sure that anybody that you're kind of going back and forth with is somebody who's going to be worth investing your time in, and also really proving that they're trustworthy or somebody who is safe. And there's nothing wrong with keeping your options open. I feel like that, Knight can kind of come and go, but the King of Wands, or somebody who could be a fire sign, can be somebody who is bold, and they're going to take action, and they're also going to pursue you, and they're going to let you know that they're choosing you, and it's somebody who's going to be reliable. So be watching more of what's going on with the actions rather than just the emotions or the chemistry. I think it's really important to watch what they're going through or what they're doing to kind of prove to you or show you that they're committed. And you might feel like you're kind of putting them through a bit of like an obstacle, challenge, but I feel like so be it. It might take a couple of months to really determine which one is going to win you over, and ultimately who's going to be the one that is going to make you feel the most secure. Give yourself some time, but I definitely would keep an eye out for these two people. They're going to have very polar, different personalities. And you might feel like I want both of them for one reason, but I think the King of Wands is going to be the one that's going to win you over, because he's going to be confident and kind of let you figure it out and still kind of hang around in the process. And he's not going to be thrown off by the fact that it's a bit of a challenge. right? Anyway, I hope that's helpful for you, Silk. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was fun coming and doing tarot live for you guys on Friday. Obviously, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and like this video before we sign off. Definitely subscribe to the channel. It does help the channel grow. I'll be back here on Sunday. We're going to do Astro Weather. If you guys haven't already seen the November tarot scopes, and if you haven't seen the December horoscopes, check those out. And if you want to see more about the Black Friday sale, if you want to pick up a copy of my tarot deck or any of that stuff, click the link in the description and head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you back here on Sunday. Take care.